What's going on, YouTube? Ferocity here. I hope you guys are doing well. A topic that I continue to see pop up more and more as of late is the idea that Call of Duty's multiplayer should become free to play. Now, I think we can all admit that Warzone is a pretty massive success for Activision, and it was the first time that Call of Duty went down the direction of free to play. And because of its success, it's allowed people to start to envision what Call of Duty's multiplayer might be if it became free to play. Now, personally, I believe offering any type of content for free is a good thing. So if Call of Duty decided to go down this avenue of free to play multiplayer, I would be all for it, but be incredibly skeptical of its success. Even Call of Duty's biggest detractors have to admit that Warzone has worked for Call of Duty. It's become a massive hit. It's a massive cash cow for them. We've seen that they're more inclined to give Warzone extra content over multiplayer. They've clearly set their sights on Warzone being the future of Call of Duty, and that it's going to get more of their focus moving forward. So if the path to success in the Call of Duty franchise is free to play, maybe it would be under their best interest to make it free to play. But here are where my issues begin. I think it would be very hard for Call of Duty to walk away from the massive amount of revenue they make off of yearly releases of games. Let's look at Modern Warfare 2 alone, that set records across the entire industry for the most copies sold within a launch window. They can't just abandon that revenue and expect to recoup that within their microtransactions in the game. Now, maybe some at Activision would believe that over time they'd be able to recoup all that revenue by just releasing quality microtransactions and quality content with their game, but that doesn't solve the problem that Call of Duty is much more than just a multiplayer game. It also has campaign and zombies. So what happens to their campaign? What happens to their zombies mode? Do those just go by the wayside? I mean, zombies has a massive fan base. Or do you now have to just pay $60 for campaign and zombies? That doesn't seem very fair, especially considering the fact that you used to get a complete game at launch for $60 a few years ago. And now the game seems to be segmented in all these different ways, with some things that are free to play and some things you have to pay money for. It seems like it would be a tough situation for Activision to navigate. Not saying it's impossible, just saying it's a difficult situation. And the other concern that I have is that there has been zero track record from Activision that they'd be able to make a successful live service model for multiplayer. Like, I would expect them to release more content than they release now, especially considering the fact that there was no initial investment at launch. And the fear that I have is that we get less content at launch and less content throughout the year, because that's the track record I've seen from Call of Duty. They haven't done anything to instill faith in me that they would do anything different. As much as I want to believe that free-to-play would be the way to go and it would be successful for Call of Duty, I am more concerned that their greed would get in their way, that they would hold back features from the initial launch window to then release them as new features later on to bring players back in. Because that's the track record we've seen from Call of Duty. Even when they force you to pay a premium for their multiplayer, they're still withholding content from you for 3 to 5 months in some cases. And that's not really fair. Just wait until it becomes a free-to-play game and then you'll get less content. Sure, the barrier to entry isn't there, but at least there's a bare minimum that they need to achieve year in and year out, because there's a little bit of a higher expectation when you're spending money on it. Now, inversely, there's people that'll argue that because they don't get that initial investment, they're going to have to do more to get your money, because they're going to have to either release really good microtransactions or they're going to have to release really good content to keep you playing, which will make you invest in the game. And that'll be their incentive to do so, is to get your money because it'll become a free-to-play game. They have to incentivize your playing time. And maybe that's what they'll do, but again, we've never seen that track record, and I'd be very skeptical going into it. I'd love for it to be a success story. I'd love for Call of Duty to become free to play and for it to work out for every member of the Call of Duty community and have it be mutually beneficial for the members of the community and for the developers. I'd love to see that, because guess what? If Call of Duty sets that standard, other games will follow suit. Unfortunately, when Halo Infinite set the standard back in 2021, they failed miserably. And instead of other games following suit, people saw it as an expense that they're not willing to put in, because Halo Infinite failed so miserably at delivering a live service game. But if Call of Duty was able to do it and do it successfully, I think other games in this industry would follow suit. You'd bet that Battlefield would follow suit. They'd do the same. They'd want to get players to play their game. Now, maybe this is the direction that Microsoft wants to take Call of Duty. Maybe this is all actually a reality in a couple years. But until we actually have some proof of concept here, I'm going to hold my skepticism. I am going to consistently be honest and say that I don't have any faith in them to deliver a quality live service game. I would love to be proven wrong in this fact. I'd love for it to all be sunshine and rainbows, for us to sing Kumbaya and have a grand old time on Call of Duty again. I'd love for them to meet the expectations of the community, knock it out of the park, and have a healthy and thriving community. But what I've seen over the last few years is neglecting the community time and time again. And when you don't have an incentive to build a competent game at launch because you need to be able to sell copies in November every single year, you will get a less competent product, a more incomplete product, a product that will have to grow and evolve over time. And frankly, I don't even know if Call of Duty would have incentive to evolve it over time, because there's enough people in the casual player base that will financially support them. So maybe it's in the best interest of all of us, the Call of Duty community that has turned our backs on Call of Duty, that are boycotting it, for it to become free to play, because then we never have to invest any type of money into the game and we can just mindlessly enjoy it for what it is, a soulless, lifeless franchise. Now, obviously, this is all a double-edged sword, and I mentioned that several times. Maybe they release a free-to-play multiplayer and all works out, and because of the needed added revenue from the community, because they don't get that initial revenue from selling copies, the game will be better. It'll be released in a more healthy state, a more complete state. We'll have more features at launch. That would be great. But it doesn't solve the question of what they do with campaign and zombies. Are these also become free-to-play services? Do these become something you have to pay extra for? How does that work? And that's just a bunch of question marks that no one knows. The one thing we do know is ever since 2005, every single October or November, we get a brand new Call of Duty experience that is going to cost us between $60 and $70 to be able to play. And that Call of Duty experience will always have multiplayer. Some years it has a campaign, others it doesn't. Some years it has zombies, others it doesn't. So at the end of the day, we know without a shadow of a doubt that Call of Duty will release a new multiplayer in the fall. The question is, how much longer are we going to have to continue to pay for that multiplayer? At what point will Call of Duty change up their formula and move multiplayer to free-to-play? I'd love for them to set that standard. I'd love for them to do this, have it work out, have it be a success, make it work, and then the community can support it. And one of Call of Duty's biggest competitors coming this fall is going to be a free-to-play multiplayer experience with XDefiant. And one of the things that's going to be interesting to monitor is, does the success of XDefiant change the way Call of Duty views their multiplayer experience? Will they make Modern Warfare 3 better based on the fact that they might be a little concerned about XDefiant? Will XDefiant make them change their hand for 2024 and make that game be better, or make it become free to play? There's a lot of moving parts here, a lot of uncertainty. But what I'll leave you all with, and the conclusion of this video, is that I personally would love to see Call of Duty's multiplayer move to become free to play. I would love to have faith that Activision and its developers would be able to make a competent game that would grow over time and would actually fulfill its promise of being a live service game. A live service game that you'd be more than willing to spend money on. A live service game that was able to retain your attention and to give you constant incentive to play it. Those are the barriers. Those are the bare minimum that the community would want from a live service multiplayer game. But as it stands, I just don't believe that Call of Duty is going to go down this road. I don't think that they'll be able to turn their back on the millions of dollars they make every single October and November. That is guaranteed for them. But hey, that's just my opinion. That's my thought process. I thank you guys very much for watching, and I'd love to hear your thoughts down below in that comment section. Should Call of Duty become free to play? Do you think that it would be successful or unsuccessful? Do you think the games would be better or worse? Would love to hear your thoughts down below in that comment section. And as always, guys, if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. Thank you all for 2,000 subscribers. And if you are new here and you like what you see and you want to see more, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys next time.